Good morning, everyone. Before we begin our artist talk today with Lincoln Austin and Chelsea Jewell, I'll just start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land which we're on, the Darwin people, and pay respect to elders past and present, and acknowledge the ongoing contribution and care for country that the Darwin people have for this region, and all of the work that they also do with us here at Rockhampton Museum of Art. We're really lucky to have a really great relationship with our local traditional owners. So before we start the talk, I'll just do our little artist introductions. We haven't had an artwork by Lincoln on display at the Museum of Art here, so I'll do a little introduction and then we'll get started into the conversation. So, modular forms, tessellating patterns, interlocking structures. Lincoln Austin's artworks reveal systems of making and codes of construction. Artworks are open invitations to experience relational, sensorial fields of abstract colour and form, and perceptively co-constructing playfully following the logic of design, meeting material limits, and imagining infinite recurrent possibilities. From intricate miniature assemblies to expansive installations to integrated architectural expressions, Austin's works play across scales and materials, energising space, light and time. And I'll just acknowledge Beth Jackson from the Artist Gallery. That bio is just perfect. So
it's beautiful,
it's really great. So Lincoln Austin has exhibited nationally and internationally with a long list of solo exhibitions, residencies, grants, awards. Lincoln's artwork is held in numerous collections, including Kyogoma, and Lincoln also in 2021 had a 20-year survey exhibition held by Ipswich Art Gallery called The Space Between Us, curated by Samantha Lindley. So that really, we were talking yesterday about how long you've been making these kinds of artworks and forms, and this artwork is from a very long history of making this kind of work. And I'll also introduce here Chelsea Jewell. So Chelsea is a Gold Coast-based artist, a recent graduate of the Byron School of Arts Contemporary Visual Arts program. She has a background as an architect and designer. Chelsea explores the spatial, structural, creating sculptural works and three-dimensional drawings. And recently Chelsea's work was exhibited at Hotter in the 2024 Triennial, Here and Now, and the Swell Sculpture Festival, which is excellent. So Chelsea is part of this project, completing a mentorship with Lincoln, which we'll definitely hear more about in the talk this morning. So to kick things off, I thought I might just ask you a question, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
So this artwork that we have suspended above us has the engineering, what's the right word for it? Concepts of tensegrity, which is very complex. And so I just, because you do have such a long practice of creating sculptural forms, interest in mathematics, how did you come to be interested in this particular style of creation?
Okay, this building kind of prompted this. So I was invited to show in this space. I also would like to acknowledge the Durable people and be grateful for being here. So with no real prescription, it's just like, here's a space, please do something with it. So it was obvious, you had to use this height. So it made sense I wanted to make a work that was so big it couldn't fit in the gallery, it had to be constructed in the gallery. And I've been looking at this principle of tensegrity, kind of self-contained, tensioned object for years, but not really knowing how to push it forward. So I guess I jumped in and went, now's the time. So this is the first work I've made using this principle. A bit scary, but thankfully also the gallery gave me a number of years to develop this work. So it was just the opportunity to explore a new idea, which isn't a new idea, it's an old idea, but explore new for me and trying to find a new way of expressing that. And this came out of that. But also, I guess, reaching a period, my visual arts career is now 25, 26 years in. And as the title of this work kind of tries to open a discussion, it's like, well, I do have experience, and I need to take that seriously and push that when opportunities present. So yeah, how's that?
Thank you. And for those of us from non-engineering backgrounds, what is, it's probably a bit hard to summarise, but in a nutshell, what is tensegrity, and maybe some other examples that we might have seen out in the real world?
So the Kurilpa Bridge in Brisbane, anyone who knows that amazing bridge with all of these kind of horizontal kind of struts and cables, uses the principle of tensegrity. The art history will tell you it was Buckminster Fuller and Kenneth Snelson.
Which is patently incorrect.
Which is incorrect. We've done a bit more research, but so they were kind of like working in the 1950s at the Black Mountain School and working together to develop it. I mean, they were less interested in the kind of collapsible, remakeable. They were kind of trying to make engineering, but also sculpture. Kenneth Snelson was a sculptor. Buckminster Fuller was an architect, experimental engineer. But I've spoken to a couple of architects about this as well. Like, why don't you use it? Like this amazing system. But the problem is, as I've discovered, it's very temperamental, and the object doesn't move into its full strength until everything is put together. So it's kind of this. For me, it works on a poetic level, that there's nothing unnecessary. You know, everything within the structure is important to the structure. So it kind of tells a story about unity and cooperation and community and all of that. So.
And maybe this is a good chance too to talk about. So we've been here for the week installing, and there's definitely a method to how it needs to go up, and it's very certain materials that need to be used. So do you want to talk through about kind of breaking the sculpture down, what it's made out of, and how it needs to be assembled?
I want Chelsea to talk about.
Right. Okay.
Why else would you have in the system?
Yes. Yes. Here we are. They're, I guess, a system of rods that develop a core structure, and there you can see there's some little sort of wiggly plates about halfway long, or you see them twice in one bar. So that's where the tension is coming from. So it's that delightful efficiency of not everything that makes this strong is rigid. So the ropes are really doing almost, well, at least 50% of the work in the structure, which I think is what is remarkable about tensegrity generally. It's this sort of hard and soft structure, which eventually creates a rigid form. So there's 10 triangles that are happening, but actually the ends of the triangles, which are these aluminium powder-coated rods, they're unnecessary. They're unnecessary structurally. They stabilise the structure, kind of, but it can exist without it. So there's a core structure. And then the ropes are a nylon rated rope, and we had help sort of selecting or getting a kind of tick from an engineer who worked on the Kurilpa Bridge and also the water cube and a few other amazing things like the Sagrada Familia and all sorts of really incredible things. So his name is Tristram Caffrey, and he's really quite a remarkable engineer.
Engineering rock star.
Engineering rock star. But actually, this rock star over here in the fancy pants, it was literally just a tick from Tristram. And there aren't that many engineers who are willing to give that tick. So it was really, we were very lucky be able to engage with him, and pro bono, which was great. Thank you, Arab. Thank you, Michael Rayner. Thank you, Tristram. Yes, it was really amazing, and I could direct you to he has lots of talks online where you can see some of his work. It's really impressive, but that's an aside. Apart from that, there are 5 hanging points at the top, and I guess this thing works, you'll find triangles, pentagons, hexagons, all sorts of geometries in the work, and the internet, which is the internal sort of web, that is under tension, but also not structurally necessary. It's using the structure as its kind of frameworks, which I think is something that you would be great talking to.
Well, that's actually when this space was presented, I had been having a conversation with a psychologist and kind of looking at the social expectations of like being tough and how reaching a point in time, I'm actually going to cry, where that was like, that hasn't worked for me. So I said, I want to be a net. I kind of want to treat life, move through life like a net. So that was the impetus for this work. It wasn't actually the tensegrity. It was, I want to make this beautiful net that can expand out into space, and I needed skyhawks to make that happen. And so this structure kind of developed around the net as a support for the net. And the net is the most fragile part of it. It just collapses down to nothing until it's locked into this support structure.
Yeah, I mean, until it's under tension, you can't really read what it is.
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really love how that brings us back to the title of the work and all of the concepts and emotions and thoughts behind it, and there's so much going invisibly within it, much like ourselves, all of the experiences in our lives that layer and layer and layer, the weight of experience that we're all walking around with, and informs all our decisions and the way we go through life into the future. And which also brings us to perhaps, so we're currently seeing the work in its daytime natural light state, and we made the decision to have this work just with the natural light during the day, and then at night time it will be transformed with lots and lots of colour. We've got 5 projectors happening, and there's these poems, so contributed poems where people have responded to what the weight of experience phrase meant to them, and they've been colour-coded into videos where each letter is represented by a colour. Do you want to talk a bit about the poems process, projecting them, the shadows, and what happens in the nighttime state?
Yep. So I'll start by saying there are kind of 4 elements to this work. So there's this large suspended sculptural piece. There are these this kind of little gathering of mirrored works. There are the 4 poems, and then there's a very extensive list of acknowledgements for the support for the project. And so I really wanted to have a discussion around this kind of idea of authorship and ownership and the mystique of the cave-dwelling artist kind of thing, which is a part of the process, but a huge part of the process, and more in my practice is it's always been there, but I really want to make it apparent. It's that community of people who are around and support you through the process, that you can't do this alone unless you're really, really inclined. And I can't do it alone. Maybe I tried to for a few years. So this was a really nice way to invite people into this project, and an opportunity for me to acknowledge them and to kind of work on this little collaborative side project. So I offered if people would write me some words in response to this idea of the weight of experience, and it was their response, not what I thought it was, then yes, I would code that text into a small video and then gift that to them in response. And so it was a beautiful little side project, and then now these words are kind of being broadcast through the space. But the code is unbreakable, basically. So it's tiny incremental shifts in the tonality of them. No, it's not the other one. Not tone. The hue. So A is red, Z is almost red, and then every other letter is this tiny shift in the spectrum. So then, it was a kind of thing about, I don't know, language and the potential for misunderstanding, or the kind of, you can be hyper attuned to what people are saying and I get lost, it's like, I'm so busy just trying to understand what you just said that I've now forgotten what you've said. I'm not listening to, you're kind of tracking in and out of understanding of language, and that a little bit of that comes down to my experience of being queer and spending a lot of time in my youth of trying to kind of like adjust myself and adjust to the situation and the environment, and trying to work out how much of myself I can reveal in this moment. Is that safe? Is that not safe? So all of that negotiation that happens to all of us in social situations, but I think I was quite hyper attuned to it and became hyper vigilant as a result, and I'm letting go of that. So this work is really about like letting go of many things, the stripping back. And so it was only very recently, like maybe 2 months ago, I had a conversation with a curator friend, and we were talking about this project, and I realised that the one thing that I carry that I can't not carry is experience. Like you can't not have an experience, whether that's a linguistic experience or a whatever. It's with you. What you can let go of is the anxiety, the emotional attachment, the nostalgia that we kind of layer experience with. So this work is kind of an expression of that, of stripping those things away, the extraneous things, the personal things as well. But I'd rather just carry the experience and kind of accept what it was, that it had an effect, that more is to come, and kind of lighten that load as much as I can.
It's interesting you talk about stripping things back, but at the same time, at night time, it is very full on. We talked about having as many projections as we can, and the colours are bright, the patterns are all kinds of different shapes. And colour is often, while these works are white and fairly muted in this palette, how important is colour and pattern is seen in a lot of your other works to your practice? Yeah.
I love colour, absolutely love colour. I love anything that kind of shocks the eye or makes you aware that you're looking. That's my interest in image making, is like kind of giving it a physical presence. And I found myself standing out here last night. It was the first time that I could see the whole work and just going, this is too much, I love it. But I guess it's also like each of the words that were presented to me were really like very personal, because everyone understood that these words wouldn't be public except as an unreadable code. So I did my best not just to spell out the words, but to, in a simple way, try and whatever, because it's animated and I've just used very basic, simple forms, but trying to use that to in some way express the emotional intent, content of the words. So I guess that is like the relayering of the emotional, the nostalgic, the thoughtful back onto the experience, dressing the experience again, I suppose. But also like stupidly queer. Like it could not. It's like it's like a 4-year-old's birthday party gone wrong. Like too many lollies, everything's just like, it's great. But we're left outside, which is really interesting. So, I mean, and that is a result of this space too. I knew that I had these incredible windows to play with, and an artwork that's just sitting there, but on public view. And I had kind of developed this new text thing a while ago, and it just all coalesced so beautifully, so why not play with this? So you're bringing people in, sharing as a sideline, and then having a party that is just for artworks, yeah.
Thank you. And yes, if you're coming to the opening tonight, we'll definitely be...
it's the one chance to be amongst the chaos tonight.
We'll be having the artwork on.
Hopefully.
And, but yes, it will play every night throughout the duration of the exhibition, which will also be interesting because it is up for quite a long time as we change through the seasons and how the light times of the day change as the work is on display as well. It has stopped playing, but I might just quickly jump up and replay it. But we have had playing, as you mentioned at the start, the video of all your communications.
Or at least text. There's like Instagram, text, email.
So I'm wondering if we should just talk about the mentorship that you and Chelsea have been undertaking for the last while, how that came about, and this idea of collaboration, the importance of acknowledging all of the contributors you mentioned when we were chatting. It's like a film reel at the end. Everyone who has helped has been listed.
Until we got to the gallery, I now have to add a whole extra. Brendan's got to get on the list, like the whole. So this isn't the end of this work, I hope. So I'm just going to keep adding to that list. But I think Chelsea should talk about that. The mentorship.
Yeah. So it's very much a case of some of the people in my practice circle had said, "Oh, look, I think that there's Lincoln Austin. You should really look him up." And so this started a little process of internet stalking, I think is probably the best way to characterise it. And then, lo and behold, there arrived a call out, essentially, and then there was a kind of very ridiculous kind of message of pick me, pick me, pick me, and it was just it's been a great opportunity for me as an emerging artist to really look inside of the rarefied studio space of a practicing artist, and also somebody who's like quite nerdy with geometry. And in my practice, I try to make errors, but it's really been wonderful to kind of be like, no, we're not making errors. It's got to be right, and learning a lot about fabrication and the types of suppliers that you need to get access to, but also what I've really enjoyed about this project from a studio perspective is that Lincoln has really kept hold of the fabrication in the studio. Yes, we've had to source things and get things powder coated and but most of the elements, like the angles and things, there's just there's a real art to actually bending a piece of aluminium, which I was not aware of, and it's a very slow process, and things like tapping pipes and things that really help you keep hold of the work in the studio rather than sort of having an idea and sending it to a fabricator. I think I have really appreciated the way that you've, really kept us in contact with the work the entire time, and learning how to get a better finish, or, I have a very deep appreciation for the craft skill.
We've made so many jigs.
Yeah.
Getting jiggy with it.
Yes, we did. We did. So I learned a lot about jigs as well, and how important they are in this kind of work, and being able to replicate things. And I think in both of our practices, we do have a lot of repetition, and that's part of kind of developing a field or an entry point for the audience to kind of immerse themselves in the work. So I think those things have been amazing, and I think what happens is there's just this huge communication happening all the time, and the mentorship has facilitated that. I think this work would have been really hard to make without a lot of people involved, and I was lucky enough to be the artist assistant, and I think I was trying to bring my experience too, and thinking through things like safety and design, or thinking about all of the experiences that I can bring as an architect, but also as a baby artist as well. So it's been an honour and privilege.
It wasn't a difficult choice. If you look at Chelsea's CV, it's just that I can't mentor you. We are peers in this. It's just that we've worked in different fields, but we each have equal experience, and so we've shared that knowledge and played to each other's strengths, and that's true of everyone who's involved here. People step up and say, "I have this skill," or you ask them, or you say, "Oh, you can do that thing. Can you help me do that thing, please?" And it's like an artwork building community, which is what these spaces do. Kind of like it's this beautiful thing of bringing people together through creative process or through creative experience, and that's where I want my practice to go into more of those spaces.
It'll be really exciting to see what happens from here for both of you. And where does this go? Collaboration and things like that. Chelsea, you just talked a little bit about kind of the physical materiality of working with materials, sculpting, and we haven't kind of touched on these 4 sculptures that we've got this light floating piece above us, and then these kind of grounding sculptures with travertine marble. Lincoln, do you want to talk a little bit about them and what they bring to the work, the choices of material? And I'm conscious we've got a fun, looks so much fun, workshop after this, and we might have a couple of questions, and I think how we're going for time.
Probably 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had played around with this idea before, with a more lightweight material. But on this occasion, I should also thank the Queensland Government, Arts Queensland, for supporting this project. At one point, it was like my mum was saying, "Oh look, I'll find some money, we'll make it, it'll be great." So I can't take money off my mother to make art, that's just silly. So I just wanted to develop these little works that I've been working on, and it just made sense. Once again, it just coalesced and it seemed to make sense. So, and I'm still making sense of this work myself. I just kind of made some decisions that intuitively seemed right. So their intention is to reflect this object and to throw light out when the video is projected onto it. But the genesis for these works was kind of like, what can I do with a flat square, minimal intervention, and push that into 3 dimensions. So there's kind of some funny art historical references to Malevich and all that kind of modernism and suprematism. But they offer this almost like they have their unique perspective of the world in their surface. So I'm now thinking about their surface as kind of their vision of the world, and so these subtly shifting surfaces interpret the world around them and then reflect that on their surface. And the delicate, we had a chat 6 weeks ago. I was like, I don't think these are going to make it in the show. I'm not happy. I don't think I come up, because we had 8. I had 8 cut And then it's like, okay, we'll reduce that to 5, and then we still ended up at 6. So yeah, but I also, there's a delicacy in it. There is this kind of little dance happening. They're intriguing. Any mirrored surface, you kind of like, you start to engage with people's vanity or people's curiosity about themselves, and so they also offer you a distorted view of yourself. There's a lot going on in those works, and but at the same time they're playful and joyous and fun, hopefully, as well. With my practice, I really, my intention is to satisfy my need to create, but it's a communication, it's a way of connecting with the world and with people. So the audience is really central. Being aware of that people will look at this as central to my practice, and so it's I like to make works that are inviting, and then if you want to just be amused or entertained by the work, that's fine. But if you want to go a bit deeper and try and try and understand what a deeper understanding of the work might be, is there too. But it's not necessary to enter at that deeper level. You can come in at like 4-year-old, too much sugar, what fun, as well. Yeah.
And just like the poems are a little bit mysterious, these works are a little bit kind of mysterious and unpredictable as well. They do spin on the axis, so depending where they're sitting, what you're looking at, you can't quite control where the reflections might throw. So yeah, there's a little bit of that layering again and that mysteriousness. We might open up to our audience today. Any questions?
Question for the geometry nerd. Is it symmetrical?
Well,
I'm going to disagree. Yeah. Completely symmetrical.
It's not in every axis symmetrical. So I think the form is a truncated dodecahedron, and that means that there is a plane through which you can translate the object, and it will find its I think it's a hemisphere that will find itself again if you rotate it in a particular way. And most polyhedrons are of that nature. Like there's only 1 or 2 axes that you can sort of shift them through, that they'll re-find that geometry. What's interesting about some of the math in this work is that you can rotate an isododecahedron or a dodecahedron without the iso, and eventually you will find that shape at a smaller scale on the inside of the work. But it's an imaginary space in this sense, but you can find some computer modelling of that, which is quite fascinating, and I think that these geometries, this exists because we are in a time-space, cosmic, universal kind of experience, and this type of shape is just repetitive in the universe. So in that way, I think it's very elegant. Yeah.
And it's so chaotic.
Yeah, yes.
Wherever you look at it, you can't that's why I just couldn't work out.
That's the joy. I love that idea. I talk about this a lot. That kind of really at the core of my practice is engaging people in the experience of interacting with an object or a creative experience, and I try really hard to make objects that encourage people to keep moving. And so there is this lovely thing of like, it's just like moved into chaos, and then you find another angle, and it's kind of ordered itself again, which is a bit like looking at the stars at night, It shifts in and out of, but the order is always there. But our perception of it sometimes is that that's chaos, which is kind of our own lives as well, really, when you think about it. So I love playing with that idea and confusing your eye a little bit. That was part of the joy of making a white work in a white space, that you kind of, it's almost like hiding itself, even though it's massive, it's kind of slightly camouflaged. And then at night, it's still camouflaged, but it's camouflaged in like a fountain of colour. Yeah.
A question. Thank you. Very fascinating. I'm not a geometry nerd, but it's still fascinating. But when you were thinking of this space, did you think of the other viewing level? Because that's pretty cool.
Very much,
especially.
Very much so. Yeah. I just walked in here and it's like I have to use that. No, I didn't. Put some things on the ground, but that was what I was excited about, because you did have these multiple viewpoints. So exciting. This is a very rare space. Like I say, I want this work to have another life, but I don't know where I'm going to put it, because this space is so particular, so generous, and lucky Rockhampton, like the whole gallery, lucky Rockhampton, yeah.
Sorry, it'd be fabulous if we could get on top of the customs house and look back into here.
Well,
Up on the dome of the customs house. If you find me there tonight after too many champagnes, that's your fault.
Do not alert security, please.
I feel like I must have misheard something, so please put my mind at rest. What I heard was you said that the frame, the larger frame, is not structurally necessary. And the net's not structurally necessary. So is it when they come together, they're dependent on each other? Like, I couldn't understand how two non-structurally necessary things.
So where the ropes meet the rods, the gap between the two nodes where the ropes meet, that's where the strength is in the object. So
there's some plates, so we call them knuckles.
Which hold the rope.
They're the structural integrity.
Yes, so the rods that go are sort of internal to those knuckles.
They're under compression.
Yes. So the rope is in tension, so it's pulling away from itself, and then the rods are in compression. So, but these these angles that sit on the outside of the work that kind of
so they're an extension.
They're an extension. Yeah. So they're
under very little pressure. They're just supported, and then the net inside is just in tension within that other structure. It is. I'm still struggling to get my head around it.
I just wonder how if the install team is still talking to you.
They love us. But we practiced this at this scale twice.
Yes.
And because like I was saying, it's a very capricious system of engineering. So we measured everything, we went through all the process of CAD models, then we went to put it together, and on the first occasion, there's too much tension. Cut 10 millimeters of each of the rods, try again. Still too much tension, and you just kind of try seeing how far you can get it together. So there is no perfect response, really. It's just feeling. Yeah, so and then incrementally we were taking a little bit more off, just until it felt right. But it's still.
Yeah, and I think as well, I mean, we're putting it together, we're assembling it with our bodies.
Yeah.
We're not, like if it was assembled by a machine, perhaps you could have more tension. Like certainly the materials can handle it, but we couldn't physically do it. And so you'd kind of arrive at an impasse with the work where it just won't go together because you just physically don't have the strength to make it happen. So I think there was a few emotional moments of like, I'm exhausted. I'm like dripping with sweat and just, I've cuts up and down our arms and like needing special gloves and special tools to kind of leverage this thing together. But actually, it exists like this just with our bodies and not too much strength. I mean, Brendan is very strong. So he really, I mean, it really helps. It helps if you have 3 people. You can do it with 2. You can take it apart with 1 person. So it's, I mean, it's quite miraculous, and it packs up into just the smallest space. And I think Tristram talks about delightful economy and that idea of, you know, how do we do a lot with as little as we can materially. And I think that this type of system or this way of working is really interesting. And I think in the sort of legacy of artists who are working this way, there's some really, you know, it's you know, once you get into it, it's just it's a very gorgeous discipline, I think. Yeah, and this idea of delightful economy and, you know, things that just seem impossible. And I think in the workshop we're going to show everyone how to make just the simplest tensegrity form, which, you know, and I think you start to realise you can have not very much tension and it will hold up, but it's not very stable. And the more tension you bring into it, the more stable it gets. So
story of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's
yeah. It is a weird. It's kind of awful as well.
because there's a timber like marquette that's about, you know, kind of
a metre,
width,
maybe a bit more.
that's been around for a year and a half now, and the cables have slipped a little bit. The tension's come out of it, and you put it down, and it kind of flops under its own weight. But you lift it, and it moves back in. It takes its shape again. So it's interesting that this work is actually more balanced in the air than it is on the ground, working against gravity. So it wants to be in the air. It's kind of that's its expression. It wants to be elevated because it just something happens and it just adjusts right through the whole object readjusts constantly to changes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I guess if you were to do a structural force kind of animation, like if you hit it on one side, or if you apply a force on one side of it or up, it doesn't really matter from where, the rods and the ropes will sort of just naturally readjust that tension. So it's not like a structural system that this building is built where it's, you know, really transferring loads to the ground. It's transferring loads around itself. So it's sort of, it still has more load in the bottom, like, so gravity still is making a difference to where the forces are in the object, which is why when you put it on the ground, it sort of starts doing some, you know, kind of settles.
It wants to twist as
well. But it is very much a demonstration of how the forces can move, I guess, in any direction through the object.
I guess I think something both of us are interested in is how you can take something as mundane and practical as a structural principle and make it poetic, you know, like, because it is poetic.
It
like,
absolutely
everything we
is.
do has meaning. Everything we do is potentially like transformative and,
yes.
or even the mundane, you know, like it still has potential to be, yes.
Yes. But there's also an honesty about
absolutely.
that, which I think is legible. I mean, we live in that sort of truth, I suppose. So it's kind of, I do love
celebrating
that.
It.
Yeah.
Acknowledging and celebrating.
Yeah, you're very clever, darling.
Yay, the nerds, the geometry nerds, yay. All right, is that a good place to stop?
Yeah, I think that's a great place to stop. So before we wrap up, just acknowledge Lincoln and Chelsea for all your work this week and bringing this beautiful work to RMOA, and all of the RMOA team, the in-store team, public programs who's worked this week and tonight, today, for the open. It's definitely a team effort, and I hope those who are doing the workshop have a lot of fun. Yeah.
Go team, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.